Thank you very much. That was a cover of Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River. And just briefly now, I'm just going to share a few thoughts I had on the topic, and this idea of purpose and kind of how it relates to our work. And so the first thing that I was thinking about is this idea of setting concrete goals and how important that is. So we're at point A, and we're saying, you know, we want to get to point B. Maybe in 10 years' time, we're saying, that's where I want to be. And you know, this obviously gives us a sense of direction, and it really motivates us, it pushes us. And that's great, but what's interesting is that when we get to that goal, no matter how kind of big that goal is, no matter how long it took us to get there, we're going to get there and we're going to set ourselves another goal. So we'll feel a sense of satisfaction, a sense of achievement, but it won't last very long. Because, yeah, as soon as we get there, we're going to set ourselves another goal, and that's going to keep going, because I guess as human beings, we never want to just stay still. We always want to keep moving, we want to keep progressing. So the point that I was thinking about is that if this sense of satisfaction is so short, then what happens in between? You know, how do we keep that sense of satisfaction going? And, you know, so we think about sitting on a tube, and we're waiting to get to our destination, and yeah, you know, we're thinking about what are we going to do when we get there. We're not really present in that moment. Very rarely would you sit on the tube and really appreciate that journey for itself. And you know, it's a little bit like that in our work, I think. So, you know, this idea of living for the weekend, and this Monday to Friday, you know, it's a little bit irrelevant, because what we really look forward to is those 2 days off. And so my question was, you know, how do we find that satisfaction in the work itself? And I think a lot of the time we're working, and we have this mentality where we're working because we want to earn loads of money, or a decent amount of money. We want to earn that decent amount of money so that in the future we don't have to work as hard. So in a sense, what we're doing here is we're working so we don't have to work. And you know, that's sad, really, in a way, if you think about it, because for most of us, we're going to spend more time in our life working than probably anything else, you know, if you count up all the hours. And so if you can't really value that work in itself and really enjoy it in the moment, then I guess that's a lot of time wasted. And so, again, this question, how do we find the satisfaction in the work itself? And I was reading up on this and came across a book by a woman called Mary Maxwell. And she talks about the approach to work and how the approach is what's important, more so than the work itself. And the first approach that I thought I'd share is this idea of striving for excellence. You know, so we're really trying to put ourselves into what we do and trying to do it as well as possible. So you think about even a task as menial as doing the ironing, you know, rather than just trying to pass it off so you can do something you enjoy more, like really trying to engage with the task and seeing how can I do it as well as possible. And as ridiculous as that example sounds, you can see how if you apply that to anything, it would make it much more kind of satisfactory because you feel like you're doing something well. And the second approach that I was thinking about, and really I related to a lot myself, is this idea of looking outwardly rather than just inwardly on your work. Like really trying to see how can I benefit other people through what I'm doing? How can I make others happy, even in the simplest way, rather than just myself? So when I look at my own example as a musician, I think what brings me more satisfaction, more happiness than anything else, is when I feel that somebody has engaged with what I've just played and they've really felt something through it. And, you know, so recently somebody came up to me and they said, you know, I was having a bad day and I listened to that piece and it really made me happier, basically, you know, it lifted me up. And that really meant a lot to me. And when I think about why that was, I think it's because I started to feel that what I was doing was useful. You know, it benefiting others in even a small way rather than just myself. And when we think about a bus journey, I think we've all been on those buses where the driver just isn't interested, you know, he doesn't enjoy it, he's not helpful, he's rude. But then on the other extreme, I think, I hope we've all been on those bus journeys where it's the opposite, you know, the driver is smiling, he's helpful, he seems to really enjoy what he does, you know? And there's a bus driver like that locally to me, and you know, he's always so smiley and so happy. And you see that when people get on that bus, they're smiling too, as a result. And it's amazing because driving a bus is not the most obviously charitable and exciting job in the world, and yet he makes something of it, you know? He brings something to that job and he makes people happy around him. And I think that's so important, and it really reinforces this idea that it's the approach rather necessarily than the work itself. But having said all this, you know, I know that I'm not going to be able to necessarily apply it straight away, but I think just the most important thing for me is just asking the question, being conscious. So thinking about when I'm working, am I really enjoying it? Am I really appreciating it in the moment, or am I just waiting for the next goal that I'm aiming towards, or am I just waiting for the weekend, you know? And if you're not appreciating it, then thinking about how maybe these approaches could be applied, this idea of striving for excellence and also looking outwardly, trying to make others happy through what we're doing. But on that note, I'm gonna play one more piece, and it's going to be an original piece, and it's called Fly. And yeah, thank you very much.